If it feels like your whole world is falling apart, I got a message for you. What you're going through is not a punishment, it's a process. Sometimes God has to break you open to get to that part of you that still believes that He cannot use you. And you're not being punished, you're being prepared. Every test, every storm, every unanswered prayer is all building something in you that comfort never could. Now, we've all been in this situation before. We've all been in that status where we have asked God, you know what I'm saying, what is going on? Why me? Why am I the one that has to face these trials? Why is it that, I'm going through something like this? When everything in your life, everything that you love starts slipping through your hands, and the silence in the middle of your trial feels louder than His voice, it gets a little bit, frustrating. It gets not even a little bit, it gets a lot frustrating because you don't know what's going on. Your mind is wandering, your mind is going all over different places, and you just have these, these thoughts of like, oh, what is happening to me? You start thinking that maybe you did something wrong. Maybe, God walked away. Maybe something from your past life has affected, your walk with God now. And every time you take a step forward, every time you move a little bit, you just feel that pull, and you just feel that thing that, it's destruction all over you, and you don't know what's going on. But I want you guys to listen to me, because I've been in that space. I've been in that space so many times, and after my son had passed away, I was questioning God a lot. I have been through a lot in my life, and going through that test, I still to this day don't know why. And I still don't know what is happening, what is the purpose behind it. The nights where I've cried out and I've gotten and had no answers, the mornings waking up numb, questioning, does He even hear me? Does He even understand what is it that I'm going through? Does He understand that this pain is just destroying me? Now I'm still walking that path. I'm still going through that journey right now. And honestly, it has taken me a long time to realize that God's silence doesn't mean that He is absent in my life. Sometimes He's testing what's been planted in me or in you, not to see if we're gonna fail, but to help us to find what's already in us. And going through that is difficult because, like I said, as we're walking through that trial, as we're walking through that storm, we just don't know what's happening, and our mind gets so clouded with all the problems, with the situation, with the storms, that it's so hard just to really hear Him in that specific moment. Now, as men, I've said this in other videos before, we've been taught to really keep everything together. And if it's not even just, I'm not saying taught by like our fathers or whatever the case is, I'm going more deeper, meaning that everything that we really see on TV, let's say from movies, the social, status about things, the influences and stuff like that, we have this idea that a man is supposed to just have it all just wrapped up together and focused the entire time, to be strong. You don't cry, you keep moving, you keep going forward. But honestly, it's like the truth about that is that that's a mask that we wear, and that mask doesn't protect neither one of us. What it really does, it poisons us, and it's not even just men, because it's really all of us. But I'm addressing this to us guys, because it's something that we don't really talk about as much when it comes to our wives, when it comes to people in our lives, period, when it comes to our family. But this mask that we keep trying to put on in the middle of all these trials, especially when we're being tested, we don't give ourselves a chance to hear from God, because we're so focused on trying to handle the problem ourselves and not really, having to depend on anybody. And unfortunately, that means God as well, and it's like the more that we hide that type of pain, the more that it owns us. And I know this, man, I feel it, especially like I said, I keep going back to that when my son had passed, was trying to hold on to this pain, still trying to hold on to these feelings that I had. And I thought that I was doing right. And I thought that I was, actually getting through this healing journey. But at night, it's like these things just came over me and these feelings just covered me. And I would deal with the anger, I would deal with the resentment, I would deal with all the hurt and the grief. And I would go throughout my day, the next day when I would wake up, and I would just take it out on everybody in my family, you know, thinking that I was doing right. But the honest truth is this, guys, you know, it's like God can't heal what we keep pretending that's not hurting us. He can't do anything with us while we're still in this illusion that nothing's bothering us, you know, or that we're doing fine and we can hold it, we can keep it together. So we try to stand tall, and we try to make it like that. But honestly, my brothers, you know what I'm saying? It's just hurting us every moment that we keep acting like that. And you know, you think about it, it's like he's not asking for us to be perfect. What he's asking from us is to be honest, to be open with our, you know, with our feelings, with what we got going on. That's why I like reading, you know what I'm saying, the Bible. If y'all read the book of Psalms, where David, you know what I'm saying, he just pours himself out to God. And he pours out everything that he's feeling. And it's okay to tell God if you're angry. It's okay to tell God if you're in pain, if you're feeling some type of way. They laugh at me with my children. I tell them, I said, the way I speak to God is, you know, I speak to God like I'm talking to like you guys right now. You know, I don't have these special words or special things like that. I lost that a long time ago. So what I try to do now is that whenever I have a moment and I'm having that situation, I just open up to him like I'm speaking to, like I said, my father, and trying to be honest with him. Because, you know, the reality is that the cost of our silence is costing our peace. You know what I'm saying? That mask that we keep wearing as an identity is messing with us and messing with the peace that we want in our lives. You know, and I'm one that I'm still working on it. But there were times, man, like I would get to where you know, especially during those trials and storms, where I wouldn't even speak to my wife. I mean, I'm talking about for like maybe a week, 2 weeks. You know, my family, I would just stay stone cold silent and be in my head and be in my thoughts so much that I would just leave everything outside and not deal with it and not let God deal with me. Now, I want to tell you guys something, man. It's like this, look. Every storm that you face, every heartbreak that you carry, they're not random. You know, we can kind of look at it as divine training grounds, if you want to put it that way. You know, God doesn't test you to break you. He tests you to build you. And I know in the middle of that, it don't seem like that at all. You know, it seems like, you know, let's put an example I'll give you. When I was growing up, I used to tell my mother all the time that I felt like God had this finger on our family, because it was just one thing after another and after another and after another. Now, we went to church. We did everything we were supposed to do. I had, you know, they would pray, fast, you call it, but it just kept like every single moment or everything was a test. It just kept being a test. And when you're young, you don't really understand what's going on. You know, you don't know the whole situation. As you get older and as you start maturing a lot more, you start really understanding some things, because as you progress in maturity, you start going through these trials, and then your mind starts kind of like, you know, maturing as well. Let's put it that way. And if we look right into the book of James, right? James chapter 1, verses 2 and 4, he says, "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Now, when I first read that, I was like, consider it pure what? Pure joy when I face a trial? Now, this is when I wasn't mature in faith and I wasn't mature with certain things. But after going through the trials that I went through, it starts to kind of make sense. It starts to kind of make sense to me, you know? And it's like, what it's really trying to say is that the pain that you're going through is producing some type like a power, and your test that you're going through is producing an endurance. So every time you stay faithful when it's hard, heaven is taking notice. You know, the fire doesn't destroy the gold, it reveals it. And you start thinking like that, you're like, man, okay, so what I'm actually going through is not something to keep me down. It's something to refine me. It's something to purify me. Kind of like, to bring something forth, to bring it out of me that is deep hidden inside because of my train of thought and the way that I see things. So when you start looking at these trials and these tests, if you want to call them that, and that type of perspective, you know what I'm saying? God will start revealing some things in you during those trials, and he'll start pulling things out. He'll start pulling the good stuff forth, right? Bringing them out, and all the bad stuff, all the bad habits, all the bad things, the bad way that you think, you know what I'm saying? He'll start dealing with it, and he'll start destroying that and kind of like, just refining you, if that makes sense. Now, one thing that I believe that we got to start doing is stop asking, why is this happening? This is something that oh my God, bro. I can tell you guys, it's like, I would ask that every single time, and especially after my son had passed away, why is this happening to me? I gave my life to God. I did what I was supposed to do. I did what the pastor said, but why is this happening in my life right now? And then I had to start, a revelation that came to me. It was like, start to ask him, what is he trying to teach me? What are you trying to teach me, God? Because every test and every trial, there's a lesson that comes from it, even though we don't understand what's happening at the moment, but there is some specific type of lesson. It's just like, what is it? What is it that we're going? Pain is a language, right? And it's how God gets our attention when comfort keeps us asleep. And I want you to think about that. Pain is some type of language. And sometimes we get so comfortable in how we act and the situations that we're in that we won't move. We won't change the way we think about things. We won't change our feelings. We'll just continue in this route. And sometimes he's got to come in and he's got to shake us to wake us up. And I believe that he does that whenever he finds us in this space of that comfort. And it could be comfort in any type of sense. I guess like with me, it was comfortable being angry. It was comfortable just, being in my head. It was comfortable just dealing with everything I was dealing with in my life like that, because it was something that I knew already. And I was okay, if you call it a routine, a habit. And I believe that God, with everything that's happened in my personal experience, my life, that he had to start doing these things to kind of bring me out of that, So every test has a hidden lesson. And maybe he could be teaching us patience. I don't know. Maybe he could be teaching you surrender. Or maybe he's reminding you that you were never meant to carry this pain or this situation alone. The test exposes what still needs healing. Now, as we're going through this process of the storm, what I believe as well is that we don't fight the process. We must trust it. We must trust God in it, because, honestly, what other option do we got? We done tried everything. Like with me, the alcohol, the drugs, the mellowing my feelings and everything else. What else can we do? We must at some point trust the process and not run from the test, but try to learn from it. Because when everything feels dark, we have to remember that seeds, they grow underground. And if you think about that, I was telling a story to a friend of mine that, a seed, you plant it into the ground and it has to go through this harsh, test. You could probably call it that. It has to go through the environment changing, from the storms, from whatever the case may be. But you don't see what's happening underground until one day it sprouts. And then when it sprouts, it endured everything that it had to do just to make it above ground. And that's how it is when it comes to us and what we go through. You might not see it now, but God is developing something inside of you that's going to shift generations. The test isn't proof that he left you. It's proof that he believes in what he placed inside of you. Now, I want to leave you guys with this, man. You're not being broken. You're being built. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. So if in that fire, if you're in that fire right now, hold your ground. Keep walking and keep trusting, keep believing, because when this season ends, and it will end, you're going to look back and realize that the test didn't destroy you. It actually defined you guys. And with this message right here, I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you guys to like, subscribe, follow, share the message. And this isn't for any type of views or to make myself popular on YouTube or anything like that. This is because of the mission and the call that God has placed on my life to be able to help other men, to be able to help other fathers, to be able to help individuals. It doesn't even matter at this point, to be able to recognize what is it that they're going through because of the grief that I have endured and because of my life testing everything from the military, from the gangs, the drug, the addictions, everything like that. And especially after my son had passed away, is to be able to let you guys know that you're not alone, and what you're feeling is not something that makes you weak. It's not something that makes you act normal. What you're going through is really very, very normal. And you guys are loved, and you guys are blessed by the Most High, the one that created you guys. But I am here with you as well. So let's build this brotherhood together, this community of men where we can come together, we can actually express the trueness of how we feel to be able to help others who are actually going through the same exact thing that we're going through, because your test will become a testimony for others, man. Grace and peace, guys.